Lower your finger. I noticed some things, and I'm just gonna call them out. Hopefully, this is a short video. It's not intended to be long. Uh, I think you got one of the primary issues in this space is you got guys who are in this rage, right? The red pill rage. Um, I particularly have a very interesting version of it, right, where it kind of like comes out in small spurts. Um, I think the content that we're watching, I'm not saying it's not true and stuff like that, but I think for a lot of us, it would probably be better off not necessarily giving a bunch of people views because um, our psyches are very sensitive, and it can be difficult to turn off that emotional side, the side that wants to scream out in agony and pain against not knowing the truth of female nature, not knowing the truth of the deception in a lot of things about the world, but specifically about like relationships, right? Not knowing that we were being tested, little tiny little micro tests, not knowing that our sense of manhood was being stripped from us from the earliest inklings that we could understand, even before we could understand. Um, I don't think it's a good idea for a lot of guys. I think learning about the red pill, learning about MGTOW, learning about the nature of things, evil psych, all of that is dangerous. I think that if it were me and I was the only man in the world who knew about that information, I don't think I would easily be able to spread that knowledge, that information, because the effects that it's had on the male psyche, from what I can see, is causing a lot of pain, causing a lot of trauma, or maybe it's unpacking a lot of old trauma. Uh, and you get a lot of men who are kind of having this effect where they are ending up um, you know, looking out and they see this person and they're trying to, you know, just give them what they gave them. So the video is called "Lower Your Finger" because it's based off of in Naruto there was a clan that was uh, heavily despised by Tobirama. Tobirama is a character in Naruto. He was the second Hokage, very powerful, very strong, but he had his misgivings, his against the Uchiha clan. There was a lot that he didn't like about the Uchiha clan, and he was thinking a lot of his um, a lot of his motivations towards them were a bit dark. Um, he didn't really like them. He had like a lot of hatred towards them. Um, in the video, in the episode where him and his brother are reanimated, he is reanimated. I believe he's reanimated by Orochimaru. I could be wrong on that. I thought it was Kabuto. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was Orochimaru. So he's reanimated by Orochimaru, and then after the reanimation, him and his brother are face to face with an Uchiha, with the current iteration and generation of the Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha, or Uchiha Sasuke. Um, so when Tobirama learns about Sasuke and his intentions, he threatens imminent violence uh, towards Sasuke, and it freaks everyone out in the room, including Orochimaru. And Orochimaru kind of like is in a situation where he's like, "Oh God, how are we going to get out of this?" Right? Uh, and then you have people in the room like, "Oh my God, these guys they're about to about to wreck shop," right? But then the eldest brother, um, the eldest brother Hashirama, he was. He told his brother to lower his finger. And the reason why I think that is very interesting is because I think, um, well, before I get to that, he told his brother to lower his finger, and he kind of like showed him, hey man, like look, if I'm gonna have to do something, I'm gonna do something, and I don't want to square up with you. I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to change what's going on. I think in the red pill MGTOW manosphere, whatever you want to call it, space, you have two different groups of guys, right? You have the guys, you got the incels, you got the guys who, you got the black pill guys, the guys who are kind of like despotic, like almost like they're at their wits' end emotionally, and they're lashing out. They're like clawing on to whatever they can and just biting down, right? This very survivalistic, animalistic kind of energy. And then you got the guys who, yeah, they went through the red pill rage, they went through that pain, they went through that phase, um, but then they recognized and they learned and they went through the spiritual journey and they crossed over into realms of enlightenment and they healed those emotional pains at least enough to where they could transcend that particular threshold, that frequency. And I would say that those guys end up, I guess you could call them Hashirama. You could call the guys who are still in that rage, still in that anger towards not being told the truth, not understanding the true nature of women, not understanding the true nature of the world. Um, and they're still wallowing, they're still suffering from their past mistakes, reliving it over and over in their head, but then blaming their issues on either specific women or women at large, right? Which um, is not good, right? Like I understand that a lot of the issues are coming from that, but uh, anyways, the guys who, I guess in this particular case, the women would be the Uchiha clan, and guys who finally see this stuff and understand it to a level where they can use it properly and efficiently. I guess you could say they're like the second Hokage. They look out and they see the women, and there's kind of this threat of retaliation, threat of threat of being emotionally abusive, threat of ignoring them, utilizing abandonment, whatever you can think of, right? Um, I think it definitely behooves anyone who learns this information to only use it as a way to defend against negative people, right? But if you're using it just to run amok and cause issues for people who are already experiencing emotional trauma and pain and suffering, um, sadly, you're no different than those people. I think that discerning what that is and who those people are is very important because now I'm not saying that you need to be harmless because that's part of the reason why a lot of guys are in this situation is because they were raised to think being harmless is attractive. And it's not. Being dangerous is far more attractive than being harmless. So if you want to learn to be dangerous and learn to, you know, um, be okay with screwing up every now and then, saying a couple of bad words and having a couple of mishaps with women and just people, being dangerous is actually a good thing. We respect dangerous things. Harmless things we can do. We don't need to respect that. So don't get that twisted. But when it comes to actually, um, here's one thing that I wanted to point out in the series. So I think when Hashirama was brought back, he could see that a lot of the hatred and anger towards the village that the Uchiha had, maybe there was something that was being passed on that he had to deal with through Sasuke in order for that to be healed towards the future. In order, yes, for the safety of the village, because you could see that now based off of his strength, right? There wasn't a lot of control that Orochimaru had over Hashirama. Hashirama could have undone whatever was done to him, and he could have bested Sasuke and basically ended everyone in the room. But I think there was a lot of discernment, a lot of maturity that he expressed, and he also expressed a knowledge. He also expressed a desire to make the future better for multiple people, not just himself. And I think that was his motivation with telling his brother to lower his finger and to try to find this reasonable, solution to things. In this space, we have two sides. We got the guys who were like the second Hokage, and we got the guys who were like the first Hokage. It's gonna behoove the ones who are like the first Hokage to tell the other guys to lower their fingers, because at the end of the day, men and women need each other. Um, Everyone's up in arms, and it's not really, it's not necessarily everyone's fault, right? Like this is something that a lot of it was kind of inevitable because of just haphazard choices made by higher ups and even in the lower rungs. This stuff is something that we have to deal with. We can't lose our humanity in dealing with it. And we have to be careful about just watching videos constantly end on end just to get that feeling, just to get that feeling of indignation, to feel that, to quench, to keep adding to that flame. I think a lot of guys need to just get off the internet and, if I'm being honest, like maybe use it like maybe once a week. Once you can get it to that point, just go out, read a book, ride a bike, um, paint, paint, something. I got some hobbies that I'm about to start. Thought about probably making a video on it too, but yeah. And this isn't just for guys, right? I think on the women's side, there's some women who are actually decent. You have some women who could be seen as like the first Hokage. You got some who are like the second Hokage, where they have these negative feelings towards men, and they kind of have that same kind of dichotomy between the two, kind of a good cop, bad cop kind of thing. Um, I guess the message, as it is towards the guys who are in the rage phase, right? Go through the rage. It's fine. Feel the anger. Feel the resentment. Feel the pain. If you need to hate, hate. If you need to resent, fine. Do that. Um, but um, and be patient with yourself, right? Because dealing with trauma and dealing with emotional pain isn't a straight line. A lot of people will say things like, oh, "Okay, get over it," right? I don't believe in that. I think that's messed up. I think you need to be consistent in dealing with your emotional pain, and once you're ready to once you're ready to heal, and once you're ready to fully be healed of it, after time, I think eventually it will heal. um, I'm not going to be the one to sit here and be like, oh, just get over it, like, oh, you're a man, who cares about your emotions? Like, I think we need to care, right? I think that's another thing. If you try to call yourself trying to suppress your emotions completely, even to yourself, just because you think that will fully make you a man once you don't feel anymore. Um, Maybe this is my feeling. I feel that sometimes as a thought that that's something I should do. I think that's kind of crazy now that I think about it, because I won't be able to be sensitive to other people. You feeling emotions is what allows you to be sensitive to other people. You going through stuff is what allows you to be sensitive to what other people are going through. So I don't ever want to harden myself to what women are going through, with what the average man is going through, with what anyone is going through. Don't harden yourself to people's pain. Um, I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's bad. I think we need to keep that open. And the people that you have hatred towards, deal with that. Don't let hatred sit for too long. Like, yeah, feeling it, fine. It's fine. Blast some music, be mad, scream at a wall, punch something. Like, I think, again, for me, I'm a little different. I think feeling hatred is natural, at least when it comes to like resentment and feeling powerless and stuff like that. But then you can process it and move beyond it. I think that's heroic. I think it takes guts. to move past that stuff, regardless of whether you're a man or woman. Admitting your wrongs, admitting the pain you've gone through, and then having the guts to face your pain and face your own resentment, your own frustrations, your own hatred. I think that takes guts. And nowadays, we could at least acknowledge either that we have it, some sort of resentment, some sort of hatred, some frustration towards things, and then we can be consistent in trying to better ourselves. I think that's ultimately going to be the solution going forward, is dealing with ourselves internally, and also having someone who can tell us to lower our fingers and to keep us in check when we get too far out of pocket. Lower your finger.